Hello and welcome to today's Code Jumper lesson. My name is Robin, and in today's lesson, we are going to be learning about constants. So let's go ahead and get started. As always, we'll start out with vocabulary. So make sure you have your computer science journal handy and ready to go. Feel free to use the same document that you've been using for all of these lessons, whether it's print or note taker, braille writer, or a computer document. All right, let's dive in. So our lesson is about constant. So a constant is a fixed value that cannot be changed. So what does that mean? So thinking about something that you can't change. So your house has a specific number on it. So if your number is 10, that's always going to be the house number. And your neighbor might have 12 as their house number, and then their neighbor might have 14. So your house number is a fixed value that you could always come back to, that you always know it's the same thing. Another example is your phone number. You dial that phone number to talk to whoever it is you want to talk to. Even if it's off by one digit, you're going to end up talking to somebody different than you had planned on. Our next vocab word is a review, and that's debugging. So that's the process of finding and fixing bugs or errors in a computer program. This is something that computer scientists have to do with every program. They're always looking and finding bugs. And lastly, a loop. So a loop is a way to organize commands in a computer program so they repeat a sequence of instructions a required number of times. What does that mean? That means in Code Jumper, we use the loop pod and we tell the program how many times to run a specific sequence of command pods. So that is a loop. Again, to review, we have constant, we have debugging, and loop. All right, so feel free to pause the video and write down any information that you would like to, and then start once you're start again once you're ready. Okay, well, now let's move on to our thinking question. So we're talking about constants, a fixed value. So where do you see constants every day? I gave the examples of your house number and your telephone number, but what are other areas that you can see a constant in your life? So write these down in your computer science journal. Pause the video, take a few minutes, and then come back and we'll jump into creating our program. Okay, to start with, let's go over our pieces and parts. What are we actually going to need today from the Code Jumper kit? I'm going to change my screen so we're looking at the app. We're looking at the document camera with all the pieces under it, as well as our PowerPoint. So let's look and see what we need. The first component that we always need is the hub. So remember, that's the largest component that has the threads on the front, the two big buttons on top, the speaker, and the on and off switch. So to review, the orientation of the hub is have the threads, those ports, facing your body. Feel free to pause the video and get each component individually if that's easier, or wait till the end, however works for you. The next thing that we're going to need are 4 of the play pods. So play pods are the blue and white mouse-shaped components that have 2 dials, one short donut-shaped and a tall ridge dial with the 1 cord. So we'll need 4 of those. We're going to need 1 loop pod, and that one is yellow and white, a short dial, and 2 cords. And lastly, we're going to need the pause pod, which has 1 tall ridge dial and is orange and white. And for this lesson, we're going to add in one more thing, and those are our constants. Our constants are plugs that are 1.5 inches or so long. There's a plug at one end, and the top of it is purple plastic. And on the very top are dots. And each of the constants have a different number of dots, ranging from 1 all the way up to 8. So go ahead and find all of your command pods, the hub, and the constants. There are other plugs in the kit as well, but we only want the ones that have the number dots on top. So pause the video, make sure you have everything ready to go on your desk, and then come back and join me. All right, so now that we have everything on our desk, we're going to push a few things out of the way. So what I'd like you to do is just push out of the way 3 of the play pods, both the loop and the pause pod. So we're left with on our desk, in our workspace, the hub, 1 play pod, and the constants. So let's take a little bit of time and look at what it actually means, these constants. So I'd like you to take your play pod and connect it to thread 1 on the hub. Okay, click. So I heard that click. So now we need to change and make sure we have the right sound set. So in the app, I'd like you to go to thread 1, select that, and under sound set, find the sound set for guitar. So I selected guitar in my sound set. I select OK. Now it's changed thread 1 to be guitar. So we have 1 play pod connected. And what I'd like to do is go through and see if we can figure out how many sounds we have in this sound set. Every sound set has up to this number. So we're going to turn our sound dial and see what we hear. Okay, so that's 8 different sounds. So I'm going to turn this directly to did you hear that change from going from high to low? So we're going to start on C5 and go through 1 more time and see if we can count. So starting at C5, the low note. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now we're back down to that low note. So we know there are 8 notes in our sound set, which is interesting because we have 8 constants. So I'm going to take, and I'd like you to do the same, find the constant with 1 dot on top, just the 1 dot. Pause the video if you need a moment to find that. Okay, so we're going to take this constant and we're going to insert it into the sound dial. So remember, the sound dial is the short donut-shaped dial, and we're going to push it in until it clicks. So you will feel it click on in the play pod, but you'll also hear it on the app. Okay, so now I've put that in there. Let's read our code to see what it says.
Thread 1 guitar. Play constant, C5, for 1 times speed.
Okay.
End thread.
So this is telling us that sound slot 1, because there's 1 dot on top of our constant, is the sound C5. So I'm going to take that out. Well, first let's play the sound. It's the low sound. So I'm going to take out 1 and let's put in 2. Click that in and let's play that one. Okay, that one went up a little bit higher. Okay, I'm going to put in constant 3 and you do the same and press play. So remember, between each one, you can pause the video and change these out. So that one was a little higher. Now I'm going to jump all the way up to 8. That's much higher. So now I have 8. I'm going to go all the way back down to 1. That's low. Okay, so now I have 1 back in there. So remember, a constant is a value that doesn't change. So when we turn our sound dial, that's how we usually go through all the different sounds in our sound set. So I'm going to turn our sound dial with the constant in there and see what it does. It's the same note again and again because it's a constant. That 1 is telling us we're only going to play this sound no matter what you do. You can turn the dial, but it's a constant value now. If I take out that constant and turn the dial, it goes back to going through each sound in the sound set. Okay, so those are the basics of the constant. So when you put the constant in, it plays a specific sound every single time. based on that number of the sound in the sound slot. Okay, so let's build a program with this. It'll be really fun. So I'm going to take out this play pod. So it's disconnected. Let's bring back our 3 other play pods. We're going to need our loop pod and our pause pod. So now we have those. So let's look at our actual code card of what we're going to be doing. So we're going to be building the program Make New Friends. So our code card says thread 1, make new friends. Loop 2 times, play constant 1 for 1 time speed, play constant 2 for 1 time speed, play constant 3 for 1 time speed, play constant 4 for 1 time speed, pause for 2 beats, end the loop, end thread. Okay, let's get building. So I'm going to change my view back to our CodeJumper app, back to our camera view, and as well as our PowerPoint so we can see the code card. Okay, so first things first, it says thread 1, make new friend. Let's go up to thread 1 in our app, click on or select that thread 1 and change the sound set to make new friends. Okay, so you can use your mouse, you can use your arrow up and down. I clicked the letter M and it took me right to it. Then I select OK. So first step done, we have the correct sound set. Now it's telling us loop 2 times. So we are going to start out by creating our loop. So the loop, I'm going to insert the short chord of the loop into thread 1. Okay, we heard that click. All right, great. And it says 2 times. So I'm just going to turn the top dial until it says 2.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2.
Okay, so now it's telling us we're going to loop 2 times. Our next line of our code card says play constant 1. So I'm going to take the play pod, any of my play pods, and insert it into the lower port. So this is the port on the loop pod, the same side as the long cord. So I insert my play pod into the loop. I heard the click. Okay, and it says constant 1. So I'm going to take constant 1 and insert it into my sound dial of that play pod. So we heard that click. Okay, so second line of the code card says play constant 2. So I'm going to put another play pod at the end of my first play pod. Connect that. So we're making our sequence inside the loop. And taking constant number 2 and putting it into that second play pod. Line 3 or command 3 of our program says play constant 3. So I'm taking my third play pod, connecting it to my second, adding in constant number 3, and they're all clicking, which means they're connecting. And lastly, we have play pod number 4. And its code card says put in constant number 4. Okay, that's for our play pods. The last line is our pause pod. So then we take our pause pod, connect it to our play pod number 4. All right, and we need to have it for 2 beats. So I turn the dial
2 beats
until it says 2 beats. So the last step is to connect our loop together. But let's give it a try. Let's see what happens when I press play without it connected in a full loop. Uh-oh. It burped at us. That means we do have an error. And it's saying you need to debug this and you need to figure out what your error is. You see, my pause pod is not connected to the long cord to make it an actual loop. All right, so now it's all connected. So let's see how it goes. We have two options. First, we can either read the code or run the program. And I think we're just going to go ahead and just run the program. So I'm going to press play. But it's important to remember to trace the code as we go. So starting from the first play pod we connected to the short cord on the loop, we go clockwise around.
Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend.
Uh-oh, I think we have a bug in there. Shoot, the song was doing great, and at the very end it sounded a little sleepy. So that tells me that the speed is incorrect and we need to debug it. And because I was tracing the code, I know that that's in the play pod number 4. So I'm going to turn this until it's 1 times speed.
That's how long I want to be your friend.
Okay, that sounds a little bit better. So now I'm going to go ahead and press play and still trace the code to make sure everything's working.
Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend. Make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. A circle is round, it has no end. That's how long I want to be your friend.
Okay, so if you notice, it went around twice. And that's because we have that loop in there and we told it to go around 2 times. So pause the video, take some time if you still need to work through creating this program, rewind and listen to it again if you're having any questions. Make sure you have your code card next to you so that you can really build this. But take the time to make sure all of the pods are in the right spot, you have the right speed, and do any of the debuggings that you need to do to make sure you have your loop and your program all correctly set. So just for fun, if I take out all of these,
One is silver.
if I take out all of the constants, so remember when we have the constant in there, it tells us which one to play. So if I just press play
1,
without the constants, it may not be accurate. So here we go.
Make new friends, but keep the old. That's how long I want to be your friend. That's how long I want to be your friend. That's how long I want to be your friend.
So by taking out the constants, it doesn't have the right sounds in each one of the dials or each one of the pods. So we need to turn the dials. But if I was to put the constants back in, we'd know exactly the order that it was going to play the song. So that's the program that we're going to be creating together today. But I want to give you a challenge to make a program on your own. So this one is really fun, and it's called the Mystery Animal Sound Set. So with this one, we have on the screen, and you will have access to this document as well. We have a table, and it's asking you to create a program where you're connecting 8 play pods in a sequence. So you just put a line of all of the 8 play pods. And it's telling you which constant to put in each play pod. Play pod 1, put in constant 4. Play pod 2, constant 7. Play pod 3, constant 1. Play pod 4, constant 3. play pod 5, constant 6, play pod 6, constant 5, play pod 7, constant 8, and play pod 8, you put in constant 2. So you have to name the animal. So what you're doing is really figuring out what sound lives in each sound slot. So you choose your sound set for animals, make a sequence with 8 play pods together, and then put the constants in and figure out which sound is which. So then you can also put in play pod 1, you can go 1 through 8. But in this one, you're just trying to figure out the mystery animal sound. So again, in play pod 1, you put in a specific constant, and in this case, it's telling you constant 4, and it'll give you the right answer for your sound. So I challenge you to do that on your own and explore and see what all the sounds are in what sound slots and what it means for a constant, what a constant means. So remember, a constant is a fixed value. So thank you for joining us today again on our Code Jumper lessons, and we'll see you next time.